Of a life cycle of AGI that starts in a relatively harmless baby-like state and then maybe grows from there. We will touch on sort of the humble beginnings of AGI, the importance of nurture in addition to nature, distinction between intelligence and knowledge, and the issue of friendly AI. Later on in the afternoon, we will have a workshop on socioeconomic implications of AGI, so I thought I'd talk about a different implication that has received a lot of media attention over the last year, namely the possibility that through artificial general intelligence might turn on us and exterminate humanity, which in socioeconomic terms would be bad. The issue we are addressing here is that AGI might autonomously decide to rise up against humanity and try to destroy us. Even if we didn't program it that way, we didn't want it to do that. And this would require the AGI to be both willing and able to do this. So we're going to go briefly over these requirements, see why some people are afraid, go over their attitudes regarding these issues, and then question their wisdom in light of the idea of this growing baby AGI, which hopefully is a really realistic idea. So assuming that the AI is willing to bring about the apocalypse, would it be able to do so? It seems that there must certainly be some level of intelligence at which this is possible. If it is sufficiently intelligent, it would be able to convince humans to help it to connect to the internet, weapons, factories, in order to get a physical presence in the world, and then go from there. So the real question is whether it will be able to become this powerful and this smart. A number of arguments have been mentioned in the literature for why this might indeed be possible. If we start with a system that is capable of human-level intelligence, or better yet, human AGI researcher levels of intelligence, it is likely that it could very quickly become superhuman, vastly superhuman, because artificial systems tend to be more scalable in terms of hardware, and there's a lot of hardware lying around the world that it could potentially take advantage of in order to duplicate itself or extend itself, and it might acquire these resources, this hardware, either through purchase or persuasion or stealing, hacking, or maybe some method that we don't know because we are not as intelligent. Additionally, typical computer strengths might be leveraged to read, understand, and remember vastly more content than any human ever could. For instance, it could read the entirety of Wikipedia, maybe keep it in working memory if it has enough, and then discover patterns, reason about all of this knowledge at once, and discover patterns that we would never have the capacity to do. And perhaps most importantly, if it is indeed at the level of an AGI researcher who has indeed developed AGI, then it may also be able to improve its own code, fundamentally improve the way it thinks, and improve from there. Any one of these improvements might make it easier to make the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So some people think that the improvement of intelligence might be an exponential process, and that this, in a so-called hard takeoff scenario, might happen so fast that humans are unable to respond in time to turn the system off. So if it is able, will it be willing to destroy humanity? Why would it want to do that? It seems like if we give it some kind of naive goal, like make money, cure cancer, then it won't fundamentally care about humanity or our planet or our habitat. Basically, anything that is not a top-level terminal goal of the AI is sort of fair game for it to trample all over and violate and do it as it pleases, because goodness is solely defined in terms of the goals of the AI. for the AI, of course. So this means, for instance, that if it cares about making money, then it will have absolutely no qualms about killing any of you in order to make a penny. But perhaps the AI's goals don't need to be at odds with our own. However, according to Bostrom's instrumental convergence thesis and Omohundro's basic AI drives, there are some instrumental sub-goals that are useful for almost any, for the achievement of almost any top-level goal, or any goal anyway. Survival is kind of required to accomplish most things, and self-improvement and resource acquisition, like hardware and maybe money, can usually help in being better at achieving your goals, whatever they may be. So initially, the AI might see us as useful partners as we are helping it navigate the world. But as it gets more and more intelligent and more powerful, it will sort of outgrow us. And we will sort of grow into threats, competitors, or maybe even resources for the AI, or we might simply be irrelevant. In that last case, maybe it's not technically willing to destroy us, but it will be pursuing other things, and it won't care at all. And if it is powerful enough, then it might modify our habitat or do any number of things that eventually end up destroying us. And if it feels like we are a threat to its survival, or a competitor to resources, or maybe we are resources ourselves, maybe we can do things with our atoms that are more useful, then it might just seek to destroy us actively. So to prevent the AI from wanting to do unethical things, we need to gather a comprehensive list of all the values that we care about. This is kind of difficult because we can probably not even verbalize the values that we care about ourselves, let alone agree on them. And then, even if we could do this, it's going to be difficult to instill those values on the AI. If we succeed in somehow protecting the top-level goals of an AI so that they cannot change, then it means that we sort of have to program in these values from scratch, which means that we don't just need to verbalize them, but we need to formalize them. If the top-level goals of the AI can change, so there's no protection, then we may be able to teach it what we want, because it's intelligent and it might understand what we mean when we say don't kill humans. But then again, if these top-level goals can change, then they won't be permanent, so they can change back again. And finally, there's also the issue, even if we can convince it to refrain from killing humans, then it still must have some kind of classification algorithm for what does it mean to kill, what is a human, and this might change over time, hopefully to more closely resemble reality, but the AI is not going to care about what we think is reality. It's going to care about getting more intrinsic reward or happiness or whatever it values. And it may be useful to classify all sheep as humans because it might be easier to get the reward. So this fear is not just present in the media, but also among a number of academics, and a number of research institutes have sprung up to sort of deal with this and bring attention to this. And they've been thinking about a number of ways in which we could perhaps prevent our doom. So one frequently discussed suggestion is confinement of AI in some ways. For instance, if we put the AI in a computer that is not connected to the internet, then presumably it cannot connect to the internet, and it cannot do much harm. However, if it is really super intelligent, then it could probably convince its operator to connect it to the internet anyway. Or it could play some other trick that we cannot begin to fathom with our puny human brains. The idea of monitoring would be to look at what the AGI is doing, keep tabs on how smart it is, what it wants, and to intervene if it looks like it's getting dangerous. One problem with that is AGI is probably extremely complex. Even if we could really look inside its brain, it may have millions and millions of concepts that are related to each other, and it's going to be very difficult for us to tell what's going on. But perhaps even worse, again, if the AGI is super smart, then it may be able to hide from us how smart it really is. So because these solutions appear to be inadequate, some people have called for regulations to stop or slow AGI capability research until we are able to design AGI that is 100% guaranteed to be safe. So now I want to sort of examine the truth and the wisdom of those conclusions in the light of sort of realistic AGI that starts in a baby-like state where it cannot really do much yet. If we could guarantee the safety of an AI system from its design, then that would of course be great. Yeah. Okay. But this is going to be difficult. I talked too long, so I have to be fast now. Yeah, I mean, the system is going to be limited in a number of ways. It's going to be bounded, not having all the knowledge that it wants, not all the resources that it wants. It's going to be complex, interacting with complex environments that are not necessarily foreseen by the developers of the system. And this is going to result in a highly unpredictable interaction where we cannot really tell beforehand what the behavior is going to be. This makes it extremely difficult to provide hard guarantees. If we accept that the experience of the system partially determines its behavior, and that the experience is partially determined by an unpredictable environment, then just thinking about sort of theoretical safety issues might not be sufficient, especially if we don't have an AGI system that we can make safe, because nobody really knows how to do that yet. So we shouldn't just look at the nature or the design of the system, but also at its experience and how we nurture it. And if we cannot tell from the design how it's going to behave in an unknown world, then perhaps experimentation and use of the scientific method can teach us more about the system and allow us to improve it in terms of capability and safety. Yeah, so to nurture an experiment with such a system, of course, we have to build it, but this is kind of a catch-22 situation because that, of course, might be dangerous. At least that's the fear. But we hope to consider that the baby AGI is not yet very dangerous. We're kind of imagining the AI's operation as a kind of life cycle, where the design and implementation phase is kind of like an embryonic period, and then switching the AI on is a birth event, and then it goes from sort of baby state where it doesn't know or can do much, and it has to learn through interaction with the environment and teachers how to become sort of a productive adult. In the beginning, it will be neither willing nor able to destroy humanity unless we program it explicitly to do that, and it may not yet realize that it needs to survive and self-improve, etc., in order to better accomplish its goals, because this itself requires an insight that may not be available yet. If we want to still limit the baby's intelligence, we can probably actually do so through confinement and monitoring, because it's going to be much easier with a baby AGI than with a sort of full-blown one. Because a full-blown one may be able to thwart our monitoring events by hiding its intelligence, or by breaking out of confinement by persuading its gatekeeper. But the baby AGI is not going to be capable of that yet. So we want to sort of question the path of going from this sweet and innocent baby AGI to the much feared devourer of worlds. If we accept that it is indeed in a super powerful AGI's best interest to destroy humanity, it still requires sufficient knowledge and intelligence to actually realize this. And there's a difference between intelligence and knowledge. Even if you're very intelligent, you are not going to have any realizations that if you lack the knowledge to make them. Given that there's an infinite amount of knowledge, there are always going to be gaps. and the system might be trying to fill gaps in general through curiosity, but not specifically ones that are related to destroying us, because it doesn't know that this is going to be a good outcome. And probably it will focus on more relevant things to the task at hand. Basically, it's going to need a bunch of insights in order to get to this point. And this seems like it's kind of unlikely to cascade just by chance, especially in a lab environment if we can control it. Even if it feels like it's kind of beneficial to exterminate us, might not want to invest the effort because it doesn't quite know how beneficial. It's highly risky because humans will kill it as soon as we find out that it's even contemplating things like this. So the AI must sort of hide its intentions and its capabilities and lay in wait until it's powerful enough to definitively strike. And it has no idea if there may be any other AI who is also doing this, who might intervene as soon as it does anything. Due to bounded resources and knowledge, it's always going to be fallible. If it's smart, it knows this, so it may not want to risk it. So as the developers and caretakers of early stage AGI, we have the opportunity and responsibility to guide our AIs. We shouldn't just leave them out in the wild. We can emphasize effective and peaceful ways to accomplish these goals, or teach the risks of aggression, as I mentioned, or value of friendship. There are some theories in developmental psychology that go over the moral stages of development, and some people have written about this for AGI. I think the next speaker is going to talk about value learning. So in conclusion, maybe we can develop maybe AGI that is safe and that can adequately be controlled as long as we are willing to stop it before it gets dangerous. It seems like this should be possible as long as we are disciplined. And we can make use of experimentation to gain insights into both capability and safety, so that we can hopefully in the future make better systems, or maybe even develop a system that can help us make those better systems. We should consider both nature and nurture, because we can teach the system all kinds of things that is going to base its knowledge on, of everything that it learns afterwards. And as with most technologies, we shouldn't fear the technology itself from turning on us, but rather how humans might want to use it for good or for bad. That's it.